Welcome to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Gee, I hope I didn't make a mistake with these two. They promised me they'd bring in some really good guests. Well, anyway, here's Frank and Irene.
Hello, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 222 with me and Frank. Frankie, how are you doing? How are your holidays, Frank?
My holidays were, I had a traditional depressing holiday season, you know.
Oh,
Uh,
good. So I wasn't the only one because they really sucked ass. First of all,
oh,
everybody that I know has COVID right now.
oh, really? Yeah, I've avoided it somehow, but I feel like depression is a shit sandwich, and but during the holiday season, it comes with a side order of fecal fries and crab cakes.
Okay, that really explains my past week. I almost had a heart attack because my brother, who I love, who's autistic, who I love more than anything in the world, actually got admitted to the hospital and almost died with sepsis, and I was losing my mind. And I thought, okay, this is bad. And then it was topped with everybody that I know has COVID, and everybody's holiday season was derailed. So that explains a lot. I also had the shit sandwich and a side order of fecal fries, and also a medium go fuck yourself Coke as well. Let's not forget about that.
My
So
favorite kind.
my favorite time. We're hoping that 22 is better. 2022 is better. Do you ever do the resolution thing? Do you ever make a resolution for yourself?
No, I don't. I don't really do resolutions, to tell you the truth.
Well, you're perfect, sweetie. There's no reason to.
No, I'm not. But I think I learned from my heart surgery that in order for me to make real changes in my life, I have to have a massive event happen that wakes me up. But just to say at the start of the year, oh, I'm going to change this and change
Right.
that. Um, you know. Oh, I did have one resolution, which is I'm going to try to not die this year. You
I
know,
love it. This is good. Okay. I think that that's like a pretty low bar. I think that you can do that, Frank. You're
yeah,
going
I'm
to
gonna,
try not to die.
So
And
I've been avoiding, I've been avoiding crowds. I did a show at QED a few weeks ago, and there were six people in the audience. So I was glad to see my drawing power as a comedian was back up to pre-pandemic levels. I think I might have done that joke on the last podcast. I
well,
can't.
it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? Ginkgo biloba. And you know what? I'm sure the people that downloaded our podcast the last time are not downloading this one after they heard the last one. Trust me. I'm just kidding. That's awful. That's my resolution is to stop being self-deprecating. No, no, it's not, because I
Yeah.
couldn't survive
Well,
without putting.
self-deprecation, it's good. I mean, it's a lot of comedy. A lot of my comedy is self-deprecating. So
So is mine, self-deprecating and self-defecating. I've got all those jokes because, that's we have to make fun of ourselves, right? We have to make fun of ourselves. Especially now that the world seems like I don't know what's going on. My cousin, who's a shut-in, I just found this out right before the show. This woman, she's older. She hasn't left her apartment since the first COVID lockdown. She got COVID.
how
She
did she
got
get it?
COVID. I
She never
think
left her apartment?
no, she doesn't leave her apartment. She got it from the delivery man, I think. I think that's where she
Oh,
got it.
wow.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I hope he got a good tip for that, because that he got a lot.
I hope she didn't really tip him for that. It's true. Like, what was she thinking? So, anyway, we're hoping for a better year this year. I started off the year doing a no, pandemic shutdown things, like watching another series. I started watching Cobra Kai. Have you heard about
No,
this?
I've heard that that's really good, but
I love it. I love it, Frank.
I haven't seen it yet. The one that I watched, I haven't watched the whole series, but that's really good is Landscapers on HBO Max with
Really?
Olivia Colman. It's really, really good.
Wait, what's that about? Landscapers.
It's like based on a true murder case where this older couple was arrested for they had a body buried in their backyard for decades.
Oh my God, I love shit like that. Like I'm obsessed with it, investigative
Yeah, well,
discovery.
this series is really, really good. So
Wow, I love those. And is this a real is it it's based on a real couple, you said,
based on
right?
a real story, yeah, and the couple have maintained their innocence. But I've only watched. There's 4 episodes. I've only watched the first one, so I can't.
Really chime in about it. That's
I
just
don't
one
know
episode.
that much else about it, but I can
But
tell you that.
I
And I'm
love
also
those.
watching the new Star Wars series, of course, because I'm
Oh,
a nerd.
oh yeah. Now see, now I'm not watching that. You're a nerd, but it's cool to be a nerd now. But I feel like I'm out of the loop with the Star Wars stuff. Do you like the series? Is it good?
Yeah, it's called Boba Fett. He
Uh-huh.
was a bounty hunter in one of the movies, and now they're doing a whole series about him, and
What
it's good.
it's good. Now where is that on Netflix? That's not on Netflix though,
Well,
is it?
that's on Disney Plus.
Oh, that's on Disney Plus. Apparently Disney Plus is really great, right? It has a lot of great
Well, I
shows.
mean, I of course signed up for it the first day it was available because it has all the Star Wars stuff, all the Marvel stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I've been watching the
I
Marvel.
just heard a lot of vagina shutting fiercely shut.
No, that's
No,
not
I'm
true.
just kidding.
There,
That's
women,
not true. I'm joking.
women, there are
I'm
women
joking.
nerds out there. They're into this shit. I'm
I'm
telling
into you, Frank. Believe me, I know. I'm just kidding.
you.
Um,
And, um, so, but to show you how little a life I have, or how I don't have any life, is I've actually been watching all of the Marvel cinematic universe movies in the timeline order that they came out. So I'm a lonely, lonely man. Is my point.
well, I'm a lonely, lonely person too. Believe me. Okay. I haven't been doing anything either. Look at me. I binge watched almost the entire series of Cobra Kai in the past 3 days. Okay. If that
Uh,
isn't a life, I mean,
well,
I don't,
that's what
yeah.
that's what we got to do. I'm very grateful for entertainment for helping us
Right.
get us through this thing.
To get us through this. And also like it kind of, so you did your show at QED and I'm wondering what's going on with comedy. Are the clubs, are they doing like social distancing in the clubs? Are they,
I don't know. As I told you, when I get booked, that's not a problem. The social distancing comes very naturally
yeah.
to the show. So, in fact, Fauci just announced that not to go out unless it's one of my shows. Then it's safe. Um, but I don't know what I have another gig at QED on the 15th, so
You
that hasn't been
do?
canceled or anything.
Yeah.
The one thing I will tell you though is that I was booked to do San Francisco Sketch Fest on January 23rd, and that whole thing has been postponed.
Oh my God, you're
Yeah,
kidding me.
they 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 didn't say it was a cancellation. They said it was a postponement. So they're either going to
Right.
do it later in the year, and what they're trying to do is
Wow.
hold on to all of the bookings
Right.
and have people hold on to their tickets, but it'll be at a much later date,
At a
though.
much later date. That's good. Okay, hey, I don't even want to keep this guest waiting. Frank, guess who's going to be on the show today? I
I'm
know you
very
know this woman.
excited.
You're really excited. I'm really excited. I started out doing stand up with this woman. She made New York a brighter place. I absolutely love her. She's a hilarious comic, god damn it. She a former staff writer for Conan, and this woman is absolutely not a shitty mom, even though she has a book titled Shitty Mom. She came out with a fucking awesome album just recently released at #1, Corset. Let's give it up for the hilarious, the stunning, the brilliant Laurie Kilmartin, everybody. Let's put our hands together.
Hi.
Hi,
Hey,
sweet lady. How art thou?
I'm good. I had to do a lot of restarting of computer, so I'm on an iPad. I hope it sounds okay.
Yeah, well, you look stunning, sweetie. It's fine. I always forget how important it is when you have technical issues to just restart your computer, because
Yeah.
it's go to.
Yeah, I'm trying to do video editing with 8 megabytes or gigabytes of RAM, and it constantly is freezing and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, all right.
There you go. That's a much better placement for you. Now we can see you. Do you guys know each other? Frank, Laurie, Frank?
I've met Laurie a few times. No, I have never had enough Laurie Kilmartin in my life. By a long shot. All my friends, like when I worked at Air America, all of my friends had already worked with her. My fellow writers, they all were spoke very highly of her. But our paths have only crossed like a couple times, which I'm
Just a
sad.
couple times, and on Twitter. I feel like we're close friends on Twitter.
Yes, on Twitter, absolutely.
Yeah.
And on Twitter. And now look at you guys in a Zoom room together. It's amazing. Laurie, it's terrible. It's tragic that I haven't seen the people that I love. I don't get to see enough of. Now, I haven't seen you in how long? It's been way too long.
Like a decade, probably.
Probably like not the exact day. I mean, if you can remember, I'm fucking really impressed, and I don't want to know what you're taking to have that kind of a memory at this age. I do believe it was like in the early 2000s. You moved back to LA, and you were pregnant. I think you were pregnant at the time.
No, I got pregnant back in New York. I would never get pregnant in LA. Plastic. Went back to thinking.
I was thinking, how old is your son now? You have a son, right?
I do. He's 15, and they're back in school, and he's doing okay. Yeah, he liked Zoom school because he hates school, and it was a lot shorter, and the expectations were lower. So that's
right. I would have loved that.
Sounds like a comic.
All my eggs are in a community college basket. I'm a little worried.
So I'm so excited. When I saw that you put out your album with 800-pound gorilla record, right? That you put out your album, and it was released at #1. How exciting! When did you film this? When did you tape this album?
I recorded it in 2019, right before, in October of 2019, which was turns out to be fortuitous timing because. Yeah. Parts of it are about my mom who was living with me at the time. And of course she died during the pandemic. So if I were to record it now, there goes a chunk of material I can't use.
Yeah.
So thank God I got it on tape before she died. And I recorded at the Punchline in San Francisco, which is like my home club because I started in San Francisco. And I think here's the thing, I've been watching the charts, I'm not them anymore, but I'm hoping this podcast appearance can put me back on the chart.
And it will, bitch.
But for a long time, the only women on it were me and this woman named Wendy Ho.
Wendy Ho? I remember Wendy Ho. You were bringing me back. Do you remember Wendy Ho? And Julie Goldman's, we all did the offensive lady.
You know her? To me, she's like a mystical icon because
of course I know her. She does characters. She was in the
comedy songs about shitting on the toilet, and I was like, we were the only ones on the like the top 100 list for a while. And the rest of it was like old Dane Cook albums and really old. Wow. I was like, is this only men in their 50s buying comedy albums? That's what I felt like.
China really did shut close, Frank, honestly. Okay. Yes. It did. I can't believe Wendy Ho, man. We did Julie Goldman, who's a brilliant comic, who I thought was always so forward thinking, ahead of the eight ball.
Oh, yeah.
This comedy troupe called Offensive Women or Offensive Ladies. I think, we weren't ladies, so it must have been Offensive Women. And it was Wendy Ho. It was also Rachel Feinstein. And,
cool.
But anyway, and she was part of it. And she always did this crazy, like funny characters and stuff. I can't believe it. But you're right. It scares me that you guys were the only two. You're hilarious, so it's understandable. But come on, Dane Cook,
Well, when it's also almost all white comics, it really tells you who's still buying comedy albums, and it's old white men, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily for sure the most popular comedians working and stuff.
Yeah, I think as as an old white male comedian myself, I feel like I should be way more successful than I am. I've got it all going for me.
Frank, now's the time to drop that album.
Yeah, now's the time to drop the album and a load while you're at it. I'm just kidding.
No, that's Wendy Ho shit. Hey, you can't. You gotta let Wendy have that.
You gotta. I'm gonna throw that away to Wendy. I can't believe Wendy. It is kind of shocking. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, it's sort of like Ruth Buzzy. You know.
I work
old school. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I do love it. So, but this is totally exciting that you have your album out, and it is at #1. And I think you're being modest. This is incredible. And
no, it's fallen. It's not. It's definitely fallen. But it can get up. So guys, please download it. Streaming's fine, but we don't make shit for streaming. So if you could download it, that would be great.
That's right. It's all about the downloads, baby. All about the downloads. Now, in terms of like writing, how have you been since the days past COVID? We had Brian Kiley on the show last week.
Oh, yeah.
How have you been since Conan pulled the plug on his show, and what have you been doing?
So Kiley was logging in from his office at Ellen. I mean, he literally got a job the next day in on the same studio, like across the studio street.
I guess not all white men are doing badly these days.
He can afford my album. No, I've been doing road work. I kind of just let me just jump back into some road work. It's so freeing, and I really missed it. And it was really fun until about 2 weeks ago when obviously Omicron hit. But I was doing a ton of, and I was boosted. So I was like, I don't care if these people aren't vaxxed, because I am. And if they want to kill themselves, go ahead. That's my attitude towards the audience. Yeah. But now it's like, fuck, I do care if they're vaxxed, and I care about everything because I don't want to get it either. So, but it feels like a momentary glitch in January. And it's, from what I'm reading, it seems like we'll go back to our normal, take care of yourself, I guess, attitude on stage.
I think it's like there's a spike right now, and it's supposed to recede pretty quickly, like it did in South Africa and the UK, hopefully. Although just in time to fuck up my recording at Laugh Boston this Sunday. So I'm I was getting a second. I mean, I'm also with 800 Pound Gorilla Records, but I was going to record another album, but now I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't even know if they're, to be honest, I don't know what their policy is with double vaccination. I think people are lagging. When you're in New York, people take, they make sure that you're double vaccinated. You can't go into a place without being double vaccinated. Yeah. So I hope it's not a super spreader, but please wear a mask and still come. Okay. Cause I try to push it, but then I have this moral conundrum about pushing it. It's one of those things.
Me too. Listen, I have weekends in Cincinnati and Bloomington, Indiana in the next like 3 weeks. And part of me is like, cause I don't know if it's a statewide ordinance, but they don't check for vaccine cards. Mm-hmm. Like in Texas, it's illegal to check for vaccine cards. And again, like when I worked Boston in September, I didn't give a shit because or October I had the booster. So I was like, I'm fine, no problem. But now I'm like, I'm going to be performing for potentially unvaxxed people. And vaccinated people too can also spread it, but they're less likely to have it. And it's like some of these states don't do anything to mitigate the problem. And we're on stage en masse, so we're inhaling aerosols for like 50 minutes at a time, and you just have to cross your fingers. And so I'm incredibly stressed out about that right now. I know some comics are canceling or postponing weeks and stuff, and that's on my mind.
I know it's on my mind. I feel like, go ahead, Frank. Go ahead, Frank.
Say the last show I did, I was telling Irene, was at QED. I had my mask on the whole time I was there, but then when it was my time to go on stage, I was like, I'm protecting myself now, but now I think I'll go talk into that microphone that everybody has just talked into.
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't think talking into the microphone is
it's going to do it.
I think it's all aerosols, like the mic isn't really you're just going to get your normal herpes and syphilis from the mic.
But, that explains it.
Nothing that a little bit antibiotic can't cure, Frank, right? But you're right.
Yes.
It's definitely the aerosols. And like I said, Laurie, I'm feeling kind of guilty because like part of me wants to promote this thing because they haven't canceled it. And I actually had to cancel my last performance at last Boston because I got the Delta variant. So I have COVID. I'm double vaccinated, but I
Oh
still
man,
got
Irene, you're so old school with your Delta variant.
Yeah, I know. I'm so archaic, right? I'm to the future. What the hell is going on? So you've been doing road work, and you've been you got your great album out. Are you thinking about getting another writing gig, or like Brian? Are you actively looking? Yeah, you're like.
Yes. I mean, who isn't? Why wouldn't you want a writing gig?
I love
Yeah,
that. I
sure.
love that Brian said on our show, he goes, he was doing stand up and it was just too treacherous for him. He remembered how hard it is to do stand up and networking and getting on the road. So he's like, you know what? I have to go back to writing. Like, you know, I mean, I wish we all had that option where we could be like, fuck stand up. We're just going to go back to writing, you know? So then he got the job at Ellen, luckily.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was great. I love that he just immediately got another job. It's so Kylie.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, I love doing stand up. It's a lot of fun, but you know, at some point the health insurance credits run out, you know, and I have a kid I still have to pay for and all that stuff. So yeah, and I also miss writing. I mean, it's fun to be hanging around with funny people all day long.
Right.
And not that that's the way it's done now because it's a Zoom, but in general, I mean, I really am still slightly traumatized about losing just the camaraderie of the job that I had. I mean, it was really fun. And I've worked on shows where life is not fun and it feels like hell. And I really, you know, despite whatever stresses there were, I really had a good time. I laughed a lot. I laughed hard every day. So I definitely miss that. And, you know, the more shitty travel days I have, the more I go, well, maybe I could just do stand up at home.
Right, exactly.
Not
Zoom. Right? You could just do it on Zoom. Did you do a lot of stand up during the COVID lockdown?
I did a ton of Zoom shows. I did some outdoor shows. I held outdoor shows. So yeah, I did a ton. Yeah, I worked out a lot of material on Zoom. So I was trying to. For you?
Doing a show on Zoom, a lot of comics have mixed feelings. I felt like it was very awkward for me, but how did you feel like that was just performing on Zoom?
It was fine. I felt like it kept me sort of in practice. I did find that once I got material that worked on Zoom up in front of a club audience, it didn't always translate.
Right.
I think Zoom tended to have people that already think like you or already know you in the room, and so they're fans, right? And I think a regular club audience, you won't have fans. You'll have people that just came to the show, and you know, those people probably, I needed to probably write a little bit broader in some instances to get those people on board with some of these jokes. So you know, but it was better than nothing for sure. And I did feel like I did a set, I prepared for it, and I potentially bombed in front of strangers, which is basically the feeling you have in before stand-up. So yeah, it was good enough. And I'm doing them now again too, because I don't want to be going out every night here. I don't want to, I don't want to get COVID. If I'm going to get COVID, let it be on the road. Let it be on the road. Not before I get on the plane. I don't want to.
Exactly. Also, like your son, like what's going on with school? Like I know he's double vaxxed, right? And he's in school. Is there any concern? Like, what are they doing to keep children safe?
Yeah, huge concern. We have there's a bunch of unvaxxed people in the area. And culturally, some groups just aren't vaccinating.
I live on Staten Island. I think I know a thing or two about that, sweetie.
Yeah. So that's a problem. I mean, they did have testing yesterday, and he's wearing a KN95, and just our fingers are crossed. He's getting a booster next week, and so we'll see.
Good. Did you get your booster too, or you said you were boosted? I
was boosted pretty early, and then but they said the booster starts to wane after 10 weeks. And last week I was right at the 10-week. I was like, oh, dang it.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Well, I read like 20 million COVID Twitter accounts, so maybe that's not canon. Maybe that's just one person speculating or something. But
well,
I have like a Twitter list of COVID like doctors, and so I try to keep up with them.
Well, which is smart. I'm just sticking to the horse deworming medication and hoping that works for me.
Well, I don't see a single worm on you, Irene. So I think it's working. I think it's working.
I think
It helped me a lot. I ran in the 5th at Belmont last week.
What place did you take?
I was 5th.
Oh, you got 5th. Okay, I thought you were in the 5th race. Sorry.
Yeah.
The 5th race and the 5th, which means some people won money, but I love how like some like people like Joe Rogan, like they're so serious about the horse dewormer.
Yeah.
And also my friend Jimmy Dore is the same way. Like
I just saw Jimmy last night at Flappers. Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow. How's he doing?
He's good. He's got some jokes that could be called anti-vax. He's vaccinated.
He's totally in that world of
Joe
Rogan anti-vax.
Yeah.
But I love how serious they are about the horse dewormer. And I actually heard another comedian say, "Listen, it's a real thing. Don't make jokes about it." I'm like, come on. I'm a comedian. I'm not supposed to make jokes about people taking horse dewormer.
Yeah, really? Who said that? No, they need to.
I know there's a couple people where I'm a little surprised, but then when I dig deeper, I'm like, you know what? I guess comedians are susceptible to that kind of stuff. I mean, historically, we sit around all day and doing nothing except for our set that night. So you got plenty of time to read like some really crazy books back before the internet, and now you have time to just sit on Reddit and thread out. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm surprised more comics aren't.
You know what? It was interesting because since COVID, you actually, we didn't know who felt a certain way or didn't feel another way. Like if you go to, like, for example, if I go to Long Island, a comedy club on Long Island, I'm pretty much the only comic on stage, or one of the very few comics on stage who will ever support vaccinations.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's crazy. So it's kind of like infuriating, but then I wonder how it is in other places, parts of the country. And I'm sure like it just depends where the predominantly unvaccinated people.
It's infuriating because these anti-vax people, they're ruining it for everyone. They're the reason things are still so fucked up, is because they're not getting vaxxed, and they're not getting vaxxed for the stupidest of reasons that you can imagine. And it's all a political thing so that Joe Biden isn't more successful by stopping the pandemic. So they're literally sacrificing their own lives to keep the pandemic going, and it's the stupidest thing imaginable.
But it partially. I mean, I do feel like it's partially our fault as well for not vaccinating the rest of the world and for holding on to patents and that kind of stuff. I mean, these variants are swirling about and coming about in countries that have very low vaccination rates because they can't get a hold of vaccines. So,
Right. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's crazy, and it's the other thing is like, I just don't understand it. I'm just really befuddled by it all, because if you don't want to get the vaccination, you're unvaccinated, and then do it for your family. You know what I mean? Like I know a few people, tragically, and believe me, it breaks my heart to say that they were unvaccinated, they got COVID and they died. I mean, this is a tragic event. And now their family is left without a father. You know what I mean? Like, do it for your family, if not for yourself. If you're not doing it for the greater good, at least do it. I mean, if you're not going to do it for yourself, then do it for the greater good.
Rational thought is just not a thing with these people.
You're right.
You can't rationalize with them. You can't do common sense with them. They'd rather just piss all the liberals off by not getting vaccinated, and that's more important.
Here's the thing: they're not pissing me off when you die. I get pretty happy when an anti-vaxxer dies. So even that's not working. I mean,
right. Yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to piss us off because you know what? The red flags are out. They are, you know what you need to do. And if you're not doing it, then it's your own fucking fault. But I am horrified that Betty White died. I mean, this is a tragic loss as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, right? Betty White died. I couldn't believe it. They were going to do that big thing for her.
Yeah.
99 years old. There was no segue into that except for the bitch is a quarter Greek. And if she was full Greek, she would have lived to 200. Greek people never die, I have to say. So, Laurie, so what else how are your holidays? Because I know a lot of people, Frank and I we were talking about the fact that, we were talking about the fact that the holidays were kind of derailed for a lot of people because so many of my family members ended up getting COVID. Everybody was fully vaccinated.
Wow.
COVID, yeah.
Well, enough of my family has already died from COVID that the survivors are just we are able to hang out.
Yeah, you were.
But yeah, I mean, we all used to do a big Thanksgiving, and we haven't done that in years and stuff. I worked in Vermont, and I took my son with me, and I was very worried. We wore double K95s and KN95s, and I took an air purifier with me everywhere. Like at the airport, I just plugged this big air purifier in. I put it in my carry-on, and we just sort of sat around it like it was a campfire. And I crossed my fingers, and so far we're negative. I mean, we went outside a lot. We were skiing, and so that was like a fun thing I could do for my kid. I'm so tired of not being able to take him places. Like the one thing I want to do while I have them under my legal jurisdiction as a teenager is take him places. I want to go. Yeah. I want to go to Europe, and I just want to show him places while I'm healthy enough to do it, and while those places exist and are not underwater, and while he has to do what I say. I mean, when he's 19, I have to hope he'll want to go with me someplace, and he might not want to. So I have like a limited time to do these things with my kid, and COVID and all this shit is fucking it up, man.
They're fucking it up for you. But you're like the coolest mom taking him to Vermont. I love Vermont. Where did you perform in Vermont? I love Vermont.
Vermont Comedy Club in Burlington.
Yeah, I've been there. It's so great.
Great room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have like HEPA filters, and they limited seating. They check for vaccines. They had 2 huge air purifiers near the stage, and then we went skiing at this resort called Sugarbush, which was really fun. And
yeah, that's my husband's pet name. So
I just watched that movie the other night, Sugarbush.
Guys, you're not saying jokes I didn't say myself on stage 2 weeks ago.
We get why we always have to jump on it. We're so crazy. Laurie, I just love performing in Vermont. It just feels so safe, right? Like when you get there, you know that the club's just going to do the right thing, opposed to going to other clubs where you're like already nervous and there aren't all these like, precautions in place, and you feel, oh my God, I'm going to leave doing this show. I hope it was worth it. The 3 laughs that I got, for the love of God, now I have COVID, like
I know. I was at Flappers last night, but when I'm in LA now, I perform in a mask, at least for this month. So yeah, it's weird to go up on stage, in LA right now, because Omicron's so is all over the place. We're awash in it, but
from what I've seen, there's still shows at the Improv and the Comedy Store, right?
Yeah, everyone's doing sets, so
everyone's.
I mean, there's no direction from above. Biden's like, if you're boosted, go about your lives. Don't be concerned, and you can't count on clubs to do the right thing. I mean, it's nice if they do, but we're sort of on our own. We're actually very on our own, and it's like, so I was talking to another comic, and he was saying it's almost like an experiment being played out on us and the audience. Like, can we all gather in a room when we're not supposed to gather for 10 minutes with our family, but we can gather in front of strangers for 50 minutes and not get sick? Okay, let's try it.
Let's try it. We're on our own. We have to make the decisions. Even when we were even with coronavirus, when the club started to reopen, they would bring a mic slip up. I remember that one. And then they wouldn't change the mic slip. So everybody would be spitting on the same. I'm like, This is like reusing a condom. It doesn't make any sense. You have to put on a new slip every single time somebody comes up to the stage, but at the same time, it gets hard because you want to be able to do things with your son. You want to be able to get up and do stand-up, Have you found that the audience is kind of like, in the beginning, when the clubs reopened, they were kind of like a little, I don't want to say aloof, but it was like, there was like this weirdness with the audience. Have you noticed anything like that? Like there was like this.
It's club to club, and I mean, some people, it's weird. Like we all assume everyone's sort of like us, right?
Yeah.
I think that's just human nature. But I mean, there are people that are really clueless about COVID. There are people that are sick and don't think they have COVID. I mean, I'm seeing this with extended family members where I'm like, wait, you have every symptom and you went to work that day? Like it's mind-boggling at this point. So there are a lot of people out there that are not concerned. And I can tell you that when I was 6 months pregnant, I was working in Alaska and I was showing and talking about being pregnant, and people smoked right in front of me, deliberately blew smoke in my face on stage as a joke. It's like, so there's a lot of shitty people out there that will show up at the show.
That's fucking disgusting. It's probably the same people that don't believe in abortion too, blowing smoke in your face while you're pregnant.
Of course, yeah.
Unbelievable. And you know what? You were probably one of the only women, you were the pioneer for women that were pregnant getting on stage, because I remember.
When my mom was pregnant with me, there was someone who was always smoking around her. That was my mom.
Yeah, same here. My mom did the same thing. I don't know what they were thinking.
I mean, they had all the way through all of her pregnancies with all of us.
Yeah.
That was just the way it was done back then.
Yeah, we turned out all right, so there's nothing to see here. Move along, right? Not okay. It's just crazy to me that people are just, they just can't think. They don't know what they're doing. So we were talking about New Year's resolutions before you came on. Anything that you decided that you were going to make a goal for yourself this year?
No, I don't really do New Year's resolutions, so no.
That's what Frank said too. He said, you know what? He said he doesn't do New Year's resolution. Neither do I.
My one resolution is I'm going to try not to die in 2022.
I'm constantly resolving things. All right. Yeah. I'm always trying to be resolute about things. So, to do it all on one day is a lot of pressure. But I'm always trying to improve myself. So it's ongoing and doesn't kick up in January.
It doesn't kick up in January. It's an evolution, sweetie. And I think as comics, we've all had to evolve in the past few years, right? That's a given. So anyway, I want everybody to know what you're doing, because we're going to start wrapping it up, sweetie. I want to know where they can find your fantastic new album.
It's called CORSET, and it's called CORSET because at the time I was living with a 12-year-old and an 82-year-old, and I felt like the oxygen was being suffocated out of me. That's why I called it CORSET. It's you can buy it or stream it. You can just find it any place, and there's a ton of jokes on it, and it's pretty good. And if you liked this appearance, you'll probably like the album.
Oh my God, you are the best. You're such a funny comic. I miss having you in New York City. Download it. Don't be cheap and download her album. Always remember that. And I know it's like in 5,000 platforms, but I think the ones that we really want to target is probably iTunes and Apple's, and download her album, and Amazon too. And you want to give your socials a plug? Your tweets are hilarious. I love you on Twitter.
Funny tweets.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Laurie, ANYLAURIE 16. You'll probably just search my name, Laurie Kilmartin. That might be easier to find it. That's the dumb name I came up with, and it's the name I stuck with for Instagram. So I try to be consistent with my annoying username.
Instagram and on Twitter. Laurie, it's so good to see your gorgeous face on Zoom. I miss you.
Oh, Irene, beautiful. Thank you. Frank, definitely keep living throughout 2022 and beyond. That's what I say.
Exactly. It's
and
great
beyond.
to see you. Great to see
Great
you.
to see you.
Great to see you. And Frank, is there anything that you want to plug before we?
On January 11th, Tuesday, 8 p.m., Trace Bellew and I will be doing our next live streaming Mystery Science Theater style movie riffing show. We're going to be doing an evening of short films, which people love, and
Nice.
we love riffing them. And it's $10, and so check that out. You can go to my Twitter at Frank Conniff, and my Instagram and all that stuff. And I'm always shamelessly self-promoting all that stuff, so you can find out all the information there.
That's right. You
Cool.
can stream in. It's COVID free and it's a small amount of money, people. I'm Irene Bremis on Twitter, on Instagram, and I'll be at Laugh Boston safely performing, I hope, this Sunday at 7 p.m. Laurie, I love you. I'm going to say it one more time. Thank you so much for being on the show, dear girl. Mwah.
Thanks,
Frank,
guys.
I'll
Thank
see you
you.
next
Take care, Laurie.
in
Take care.
next show. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Check us out next week when Frank and Irene sit down with, you know what? I don't know what these two are going to do next, but we'll see you next week.